afternoon, and thank you for standing by. I would like to remind all parties that your lines have been placed on listen only until the question and answer portion of today's conference. At that time, if you're wishing to ask a question, please press *1 on your touch-tone phone, and please be sure that your telephone is unmuted and clearly record your name when prompted so that your question may be introduced. Today's conference is being recorded. If you should have any objection, please disconnect at this time. It is now my pleasure to introduce your first speaker today, Ms. Linda Abrazizi, International Trade Specialist. Thank you, ma'am. You may begin.
Thank you, and good afternoon. For those of you who are participating in our Basic Guide to Exporting Resources You Should Know webinar, this webinar is being brought to you in cooperation by the U.S. Foreign Commercial Service, the U.S. Small Business Administration, and the Overseas Private Investment Corporation. My name is Linda Abrazizi, and I'm an International Trade Specialist for the Trade Information Center for the U.S. Commercial Service at the Department of Commerce. I will be today's moderator. Our main speakers for this webinar are Program Manager of the Trade Information Center for the U.S. Commercial Service for the U.S. Department of Commerce, Cam Shaw, Senior International Trade Specialist of Public Affairs for the Office of International Trade for the U.S. Small Business Administration, Richard Ginsberg, and Director, Corporate Development of the Small and Medium-Sized Enterprise Finance for the Overseas Private Investment Corporation, Allison Gachev. All speakers will be available at the end of this presentation to answer your specific questions, and contact information will also be provided at the end of the presentation. This webinar will provide you the basic information on export assistance available for small and mid-sized companies. This interactive webinar will help you find the right assistance for your company, including federal and state governments, industry association, and nonprofits. Examples will be provided of all small companies that have used these resources to increase their international sales and profits. Now, in order to view this webinar, we do have a few housekeeping details to make sure everyone gets the most benefit from today's webinar. You will be able to hear this presentation via your telephone and view it simultaneously via your computer. So if you are not hooked up through both, please take a moment to do this. If you are experiencing any technical difficulties, please press *0 anytime during this presentation. We will be taking voice questions during this webinar. To ask a voice question, please press *1 on your telephone. We also do invite you to type in questions on your screen as they occur to you during this presentation. There is a Q&A icon on the upper left-hand side of your computer screen where you can click on it and type in your questions anytime during this presentation. We will compile the questions and answer them after this webinar. We will also send you a copy of any answers to the questions that we were able to answer for today's webinar. And now I'd like to introduce live online from the Trade Information Center in Washington, D.C., Program Manager from the Trade Information Center, Cam Shaw. Cam, thank you very much.
Thank you, Linda, and good afternoon, everyone on the call. Welcome to the webinar series, Basic Guide to Exporting Resources You Should Know. It is a very open topic. It was very difficult to kind of summarize in 15 minutes what we can offer. We are going to try to give you some basic leads. Of course, it will require a lot of time on your part to follow up and read more on what we are going to talk about this afternoon. I have some distinguished speakers with me this afternoon as well. And let me start with a broad objective of U.S. government agencies, which is National Export Initiative, the initiative of Obama administration to double the U.S. exports in 5 years. A very ambitious goal, and multiple government agencies are working towards achieving this goal. For all of you in attendance this afternoon, you will be happy to hear that the beginning for this initiative, the year 2010, we have definitely surpassed our goal. Our goal is to around 15% per year increase in exports. In 2010, we achieved nearly 17% increase in exports, thanks to all of you who have been working diligently to achieve this goal from the business community. In terms of what it involves, National Export Initiative involved creation of an export promotion cabinet, which has the secretaries of multiple federal agencies reporting directly to the President. Also, there is an Export Promotion Council, which has top executives of private sector firms. So government and business together are working towards achieving this goal, and we are hoping that at the end of 5 years, we do achieve our goal of doubling the U.S. exports. Now, in terms of how we have done in the first year itself, additionally, our GDP in 2009, exports as a percentage of GDP was 11.4%. From there, we have jumped to 12.7% of U.S. GDP in 2010 is based on exports. Total exports, $1.83 trillion in 2010, a remarkable number for U.S. exports, and of course, we're going to try to achieve more and more with your help and all the businesses which are really trying to export. Let's move on to who is working together. There is a Central Trade Promotion Coordination Committee, which comprises of 20 different federal agencies, which is TPCC. Out of those 20 agencies, there are 7 core agencies, and I'll just name, and most people in the government, as you know, we all love acronyms, so that's how we all know each other in terms of agencies. Department of Commerce, popularly known as DOC, Overseas Private Insurance Corporation, known as OPIC, Export-Import Bank, EXIM, U.S. Trade and Development Agency, USTDA, Small Business Administration, SBA, Department of State, and Department of Agriculture, USDA. Each of these agencies have their specific goals and specific areas they are helping small and medium-sized companies. During the presentation, I have brief slides on some of the agencies, and this afternoon, representatives from SBA and OPIC also will be talking about their specific programs. So you have a lot of information available this afternoon. Okay. Part of the Commerce Department, many of you are aware, there are multiple sub-agencies, which includes Patent and Trademark Office, NOAA, and one of the agency which is involved in international trade, sub-agency, which is International Trade Administration, or known as ITA. What is ITA's mission? ITA is charged with the mission of strengthening the competitiveness of U.S. industry, of promoting trade and investment, and of ensuring fair trade and compliance with trade laws and agreements. Of course, we'll go into specific details of each of these units of ITA and their functions as well. What does ITA comprise of? ITA comprises of 4 units or offices: U.S. and Foreign Commercial Service, Market Access and Compliance, Manufacturing and Services, and Import Administration. Each of these units directly touch with U.S. exporters, small and medium-sized companies. I'll go into great details of the services by U.S. and Foreign Commercial Service. Market Access and Compliance is a unit which specifically helps when a U.S. company feels there is a trade barrier to their export efforts. There is a specific unit agency within part of Market Access and Compliance where you can report your complaints, and each complaint is individually analyzed, viewed, and worked on. So definitely one of the important units of ITA. Manufacturing and Services is a unit which works directly with industries. They compile data and specific market research reports of U.S. industries and their competitiveness overseas. Import Administration deals with anti-dumping, countervailing duties, and specific cases where U.S. companies feel, U.S. businesses feel, the overseas companies are dumping their products. That's another part of a very important function of ITA. Let's talk more about the U.S. Commercial Service. I am part of U.S. Commercial Service and happy to let you know that in year 2010, last year, U.S. and Foreign Commercial Service helped over 5,500 U.S. companies in their export efforts, products and services worldwide. And additional detail, out of those 5,500, 85% of which were small and medium-sized companies like all of you are. Many of you are. So feel free to reach out to us. We are here to help you. What does U.S. Commercial Service do? We have a domestic network of over 100 export assistance centers across the United States, almost in every United States. So it is not too far. In certain larger states, we have multiple offices. For example, in California, we have 4 or 5 offices. Similarly, in many other states, more than 1 offices. So please reach out and look out for the specific details, which I'll show you where to look for the actual contact or how to find those domestic offices. Also, we have international offices in more than 80 countries. So no matter what your export goals are, which part of the world you're trying to export to, we would have some assistance available, and we have actually staff overseas, which comprises of a commercial officer as well as foreign service nationals who are working on specific industry sectors. So yes, there is a wide network of domestic and international offices. We are more than 1,400 professionals working to help you around the clock. Let's talk a little bit more about specifics of commercial service products. Many of you might have used or heard of a very popular service, which is a gold key matching service. This is a service where American firms, when they are trying to visit overseas country, they may or may not know who are the right partners for them, which are the companies they should be talking to in terms of particular product or service. We do all the homework for you beforehand. Give us a notice of 6 to 8 weeks, and we will find the right individuals and companies to meet with. So your 1 or 2 days of visit to a country is definitely worth. You're not wasting any time. You're meeting specific individuals or businesses which are in your sector. So if you're looking for an agent, distributor, partner, any of those, definitely we are available. We are here to help you. In addition, language may not be an issue as well. If you're going to a country which is Arabic-speaking country or a Spanish-speaking country, we will additionally offer interpreter services. These are not totally free services. It's a fee-based service. Definitely come and talk to us, and we'll give you specifics of the fee structures, etc. If you're not ready to travel overseas yet, we can produce a report which will give you specific companies which you can work with as your potential partner, which is International Partner Search, or IPS. It's a very popular service again where U.S. companies would find a match, especially in terms of their product or service which they are trying to find a partner for. We also provide more details about the companies which we are producing on, the company size, sales volume, number of employees, etc. So it gives you a very clear picture of who could be potentially your partner. Again, this is a fee-based service as well. Let's go one step further. Many of the companies nowadays find a potential partner online by searching. Now, for U.S. firms, they don't know any detail of a company they found. You can definitely come to us and request an international company profile. This is basically a background check on a foreign firm. We do keep specific information on the companies because we have offices overseas. We will provide details of their business activities, financial data, and any other pertinent information which you should know. So for U.S. firms, it's again a valuable tool to know who you're dealing with before you sign up the company as an agent or distributor. You definitely want to consider doing an ICP. One step further, businesses, again, based on your product, you would not know necessarily every country in the world whether you have a potential for expanding into that market. You don't need to put a lot of resources. You can still just request a customized market research. We will produce a market study for you, for your product, in a particular market. So definitely look and discuss that with your sales or marketing professionals, our officers there. One of the free publication, which some of you might have already used, which is Country Commercial Guide. It is a real detailed report which has all the details about the particular country, including trade regulations, investment, leading sectors for U.S. exports. So it is a volume U.S. businesses definitely should try to read before expanding into the market. It is a free publication available through export.gov, and under market research you can choose a particular industry or a country and then find reports as well. So we call it CCG. Please make use of this valuable resource. Just quickly going over, for small firms which are trying to market their products, there is an international magazine which reaches to more than 145 countries. Commercial News USA, again, yes, that would bring any and all potential interested parties. It's then up to U.S. company to search through and kind of figure out which one is right for you. There is an additional service of promoting your product online at a foreign U.S. government website in overseas country as well, which is Fuse. Additional thing I want to definitely want to bring it to your attention, you don't necessarily have to go overseas to find a buyer. Throughout the year, international buyers come to United States. You can meet with them in the U.S., be it Las Vegas, Orlando, Chicago, Atlanta, doesn't matter. There are different cities in which we are holding international buyer program events. These are at a particular trade show, and our offices overseas recruit foreign buyers to attend the shows. So please make a point to consider attending a international show in the U.S. and let us know if you're interested in meeting with these buyers one-on-one. We can schedule the appointments for you for the meetings. So we are doing everything possible to connect buyers and sellers. One additional thing we do, some of you already used this service before, trade missions. We take trade missions to many countries and many regions, product specific or abroad, multi-industry. The details of those events are on our website, export.gov. Please check back regularly which is the next trade mission you might be interested in. Just a caveat, every company applying for trade mission may not necessarily be selected. There is a vetting process based on your experience in that market or potential for your product in that country. We will let you know if you're selected, but it's definitely worth an attempt to be with other businesses who could be your competition, or at least you get recognition and important context throughout your trade mission trip. Let me wrap up pretty soon. Just to give you some additional reference material, our Prime portal for all export-related information, www.export.gov. Every information we compile, we try to post it here. So please visit this site regularly. You will find new information regularly as well. Now, as you can see in the middle of the page, there is a tab for locations. Please feel free to use that to find a domestic or international office if you're seeking. Okay, many of you on attendance today might be new to export. For those individuals and businesses, this is a very important page, Export Basics. We have compiled numerous reports, numerous guides to help you begin with the exporting process. So please feel free to browse through and really take some time to click on the blue links. Every link opens up with a brand new details and information. So please, I encourage all of you to spend some time on this page, Export Basics. There are guides, there are universities where you can take courses, multiple things. Many times, U.S. businesses are quite concerned as to what will be the duty of my product in another country. For that, we have compiled a few specific resources to use it. There is a third-party outside vendor, Customs Info LLC. They give you a trial subscription, but they do have quite a bit right in the middle of the page. You can see online tariff database. Please register, and that'll give you tariff information for most of the countries of the world. Also, there is additional links in the middle, which country-specific tariff and tax. So use this page for any of your need for tariff and tax information. Thank you again for participating in today's webinar. We have conducted quite a few previous webinars, have now posted that as archived copy of those webinars on our website, export.gov, where you can find export.gov/webinars, and all of those archived webinars are definitely very tremendous amount of information we have compiled in the past, so please feel free to use those. In addition, we do have region-specific business centers. So export.gov is our prime portal. We attach suffix to it. For Middle East and North Africa, connect to export.gov/Middle East. For China-related information, export.gov/China. India-related information, export.gov/India. I'll, again, move pretty fast if I can. A couple other things which might be of interest to you. For large businesses, many times when they are competing with international tenders or projects with the foreign governments, we can definitely come and help you advocating your particular case. So definitely come to us and talk to us. There are specific forms to fill out, but you could get help from us. I mentioned earlier about the trade barriers. There is a Trade Compliance Center, part of Commerce, which compiles information about a specific trade barrier you know of or you felt. We can take each case individually and work on that to try to resolve that. If you have a specific question on intellectual property rights, again, we can counsel you on that as well. Look to us and we can talk specific about your product or service in terms of IPR. Just a few important links to remember. Most of this, as you know, ends with the GOV for government. So export.gov, that's our portal. For Small Business Administration, SBA.gov. For Export-Import Bank, exim.gov. For TDA, USTDA.gov. Then OPIC, Overseas Private Investment Corporation. State.gov has multiple country pages, specific travel warnings, so definitely look toward that as well if you're traveling. And USDA.gov for all agricultural products. Few telephone numbers to remember. For commercial export clients, 1-800-USA Trade. For U.S. Customs, many of the businesses and freight forwarding companies are looking for import duties and taxes for United States. Item coming into United States, definitely contact U.S. Customs at 1-877-287-8667. If you are new to exporting, you do not know your harmonized codes for your products. There is a U.S. Census Bureau has an office in Maryland, and the phone number is 1-800-549-0595. They also help you with automated export shipment filing as well. For export licensing questions, Bureau of Industry and Security, 202-482-4811. Of course, we will make this presentation available online and we'll email to you as well. So you don't necessarily have to write all this down, but these resources are available. Okay, and I just want to show you every agency has specific programs targeted or geared for small business. USTDA has a specific page how they can assist with the small businesses. Export-Import Bank also has a small business global access program. Definitely take advantage of it. I don't want to take all the time away from the other speakers, so I'll wrap up here. And definitely we are open for questions after the presentations are over. Thank you for your time, and look forward to talk to you in Q&A.
Okay, Cam, thank you. Our next speaker is Richard Ginsberg from the U.S. Small Business Administration.
Good afternoon, everyone. By a show of hands, can I see how many small business exporters are out there? Wow, that's about 3/4 of them. Thank you. Well, I'm here from the SBA, and while my focus is specifically on small businesses, what I do talk about is exporting in particular, and happy to move these slides along to give you an idea of what SBA is doing and how we can help you if you're not exporting to begin. So we're going to start here. If I can get the slide, there we go. Actually, 97% of all U.S. exporters are small businesses, and for those that were listening to the short presentation on the National Export Initiative, when the President told us last year to double exports and create 2 million new jobs, he didn't exactly tell us how to do it. So I can tell you that the 20 agencies of the federal government that Cam earlier discussed, a lot of the silos that are typically here in Washington have come down. There's tremendous collaboration between agencies so that we do not participate in either duplicative or repetitive programs. And again, the focus of SBA is to reach out. For the small business exporters that are on the line, the wannabe exporters, the service providers and facilitators, thank you for attending. Hopefully the information that you're going to get before the day is over is going to show you some new and exciting things that are happening in the world of export promotion. Besides the NEI, the Small Business Jobs Act has also considerably enhanced the programs of the Small Business Administration, and we're going to see some of those shortly. Basically, SBA, while you're working quickly to develop relationships with prospective foreign buyers, and you finally get that transaction, probably 99.9% of them are going to require export financing. And SBA proudly offers small business exporters 3 very special and unique trade finance programs. As you see, the Export Working Capital Program, the International Trade Loan Program, and the Export Express. The EWCP, coincidentally, is the same name for the major loan program for the Export-Import Bank. We're the only 2 agencies that actually provide working capital for the most part. It's called the same, and we even share the same application that are processed by the banking community, where both SBA and EXIM offers guarantees. 90% guarantee on the working capital loan. The Jobs Act enhanced SBA's program from $2 million to $5 million as of last September. And the $4.5 million maximum guarantee, the reason why we say that is because under the old format, with the $2 million gross loan, we only had a cap of $1.5 million on the guarantee, so it was 75%. So the lenders had to decide whether they wanted to take an extra 15% of interest in the loan, or they'd only make a loan of 1.66. We don't have to worry about that anymore because we have the full 90% guarantee. This working capital program can be used for specific transactions. It could be used for, again, a specific or a single project, or as a revolving line of credit. And the turnaround time, depending upon whether the lender has delegated authority, is processing your loan, or one of our people. In either case, it should never take any more than 5 or 6 days. for you to get approval, which I'm sure all of you will, and you'll be on your way with your working capital to either produce the goods that you're exporting, or to even buy the raw materials that go into the production of your finished goods. Eligibility. Well, the first eligibility criteria for SBA, of course, is to be a small business. And that is a self-certifying program by the small businesses themselves. The goods that you're being shipped have to be titled, i.e., you must have possession of them here in the U.S. And one major difference between SBA's Export Working Capital Loan and EXIM's Export Working Capital Loan is that we do not have a U.S. content requirement. We know that 75% of small business exporters typically import something first from another resource. They do value added, or they may do nothing and ship the total foreign good to buyers overseas, to another buyer. So we do not have the requirement of 51% that EXIM does, other than through if they have cases of humanitarian, that they can do that. But otherwise, the U.S. content requirement is different between SBA and EXIM. Also, the sales to military. EXIM, again, for humanitarian purposes, can only sell to military, foreign military if it is humanitarian, but SBA, in fact, can manifest export transactions for a small business to a foreign military. And the only other criteria that's particularly noteworthy is being in business for 12 months or proven expertise, and we can even waive that if there's a level of competency on the part of the U.S.-based business with foreign markets overseas. This is a particularly significant term in indirect exports, and I frequently tout this to large businesses as well as small businesses, in that the term indirect exports, and from the small business exporter's perspective, as well as for a large business who is using a small business supplier chain, there might not be even any particular concern, because the small business makes a sale and the large business gets what they're looking for. However, we term as an indirect export goods or services sold by a small business to a large firm that in fact are using those goods to become part of an exported commodity. And I'll give you just a real brief example. If you make certain electronic equipment, light bulbs or such that might go into a Boeing aircraft that has no military significance, and you're selling as a supplier to Boeing, when in fact the plane that you're supplying, these goods are being shipped overseas as an export, then what you're selling is considered an indirect export. The significance of this is that because we treat indirect exports much as a direct export, is that, again, when you're looking for bank financing, you would be entitled, or the lender, I should say, would be entitled to a 90% government guarantee versus a 75% on a domestic loan basis. And from a banking perspective, what would you think they'd rather have, a 90% or a 75% guarantee? And we're looking for ways to improve on calculating and developing the data on indirect exports versus the direct exports, which both Commerce and the Census Bureau do collect. The use of proceeds, again, to acquire or produce goods or services, and I must tell you that the service sector accounts for about a third of all U.S. exports. So if you've got an architectural firm, or a medical firm, or a legal firm, or IPR firm, where you've got foreign buyers that want to buy your expertise, and you can do a lot of consulting businesses, those are all also considered exports. So the EWCP can also be used for such services. It can also finance standby letters of credit and letters of credit, which is simply terms for international methods of payment. And you can see that we can take care of both pre-shipment guarantees as well as post-shipment guarantees. And finally, for those of you on the EWCP that are being wooed by foreign large businesses, foreign governments to perform contracting on their behalf, you may often be asked to provide either a bid or a performance bond, and the working capital loan proceeds can be used, in fact, to secure those bonds. And by and large, the transaction, the EWCP, it's simply evidenced by the purchase order, the letter of credit, or the contract. And what you see here in the acceptable payment by the foreign buyer, cash in advance is certainly the exporter's preference. You'll basically tell your buyer, if you send me my $1 million for this particular order, as soon as I get it, I really swear that I will send you your goods. Well, the buyer is going to say, I got a better idea. Why don't you send me the goods, and as soon as I get it in my warehouse, I swear I'll send you your money. So neither one are particularly attractive unless you know each other extremely well. So therefore, we need the letters of credit and, export insurance. Keeping in mind that export insurance, which is a principal forte of the Ex-Im Bank, is the mitigation of risk. The insurance is the mitigation of risk for you, the exporter, and the loan guarantees that you hear us talking about, both SBA and Ex-Im, is a mitigation of risk for the lenders. Obviously, you are the indirect beneficiary of the guarantees because the arrangement with the lenders, the contract between SBA, Ex-Im, and some of the same lenders, is that they may not do the loan unless their loan is mitigated of risk through the loan guarantees. So you are the beneficiary of that process. And on the open account, again, you're only going to do that with somebody that you've come to know very well, where you will ship your goods in advance. They'll pay you when they get it. And this is from people that you've been doing business with, for an extremely long time. And just to let you know that Export-Import Banks, as I said, one of their main programs is, in fact, their exporter insurance programs, and they extend to SBA's small business borrowers / exporters the same 25% discount that they offer to their transactions. And the collateral, well, we say that EWCP loans are self-liquidating. It simply means that when you make your shipment and through the letters of credit or payment in advance, you're going to pay back that working capital loan, and they'll start over again with the next transaction. And the bank takes the lien on the assets that are being financed through this working capital program. The fees to you, 0.25% of the guaranteed portion. The lender pays 55.5 basis points. It's a lesser amount on both sides for the SBA guarantee loans, but we find that this is both reasonable and prudent and enables the small business to gain access to capital even in these tight economic times for their export transactions. The next product I want to talk about is the International Trade Loan. This, too, as it was impacted by the Jobs Act, it was increased from $2 million to $5 million. And again, full 90% guarantee. The eligibility requirements are virtually the same. However, this loan program can also help significantly expand an export market or develop new export markets. And it's typically used for upgrading facilities or equipment, i.e. capital equipment, capital expenditures that will improve the applicant's competitive position in the global marketplace. The uses of proceeds, it can be to buy real estate, buildings, facilities, equipment. It's also going to be used for debt refinancing and as well as working capital. The business plan application must document the eligibility requirements to determine that you are, in fact, being adversely impacted by imports. And then we come to the third and final loan program. Some people say that I particularly tout the Export Express as my favorite. I mean, they're all excellent programs, but the Export Express, like the other two, were significantly enhanced by the Jobs Act. The lending amount went from $250,000 up to $350,000, up to $500,000, excuse me. The guarantee went up to 90% from 75%. But you can see it's not a tiered guarantee. For a loan up to $350,000, the guarantee is 90%, and for a loan greater than $350,000, then the guarantee on the total loan is 75%. And the lenders are producing these very quickly. They're turning these things around in less than 48 hours, and they can be used again, much as the EWCP. that could be used for not only specific export transactions, but it can also be used to make you to enable you to get into new markets, develop your strategy for exporting, for virtually any activity that will enhance your export success, such as it could be used for translating your website, translating your brochures, participating in a gold key trade mission with the Department of Commerce and the Secretary of Commerce that's leading a delegation, and anything to develop or expand your export markets or your export activity. And here you are, you see the list that we have here for financing of export transactions with letters of credit, virtually anything that's related to your ability and enhancement of your exporting activities. We have here a map of the U.S. You'll see in these, where you see these capitals, these are where SBA is currently participating in 20 of the 109 U.S. Export Assistance Centers. Our folks happen to be senior trade and finance. These actually are credit officers that if we're not working with a delegated lender, delegated authority lender, that our people actually underwrite these working capital loans, the Export Express, and the international trade loans. And I just wanted to add a couple of things that we've come up with since I made this last presentation, with two new tools that should help you significantly. First is for those that are just starting out or trying to get ahead into the export programs and getting into international sales, is that we've developed a small business exporter business planner. It's an exceptional tool. It's a PDF file that you're welcome to download. You can customize it as you deem appropriate. It could be used for each and all of your current markets where you're exporting, or for developing the strategy to export for your first market. So you can customize that export business planner tool. And we also came out with the U.S. Trade Representative, and Cam talked about it, was the something called the FTA tool. Is that countries that we currently have free trade agreements, this FTA tool could be useful to you to let you know in advance what current customs and duties and maybe value-added taxes will be levied against your imported goods in the foreign port. And all of these interesting tools can be found at www.sba.gov/international, which is our office moniker. And I think that's about the end. I just had a couple of things to tell you. If there's representatives on the line from state offices of economic development and trade, is that SBA is now, through the Jobs Act, managing the STEP, that's the State Trade and Export Promotion Program, where it's a grant program that we have funds that we're granting to the state offices, who then can enhance their programs as well to deliver trade promotion and finance programs to small business exporters and new-to-export companies. So with that, I think I have concluded my my little piece here, and we'll be taking questions, I believe, after the call. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Allison Gotcheff from the Overseas Private Investment Corporation.
Thank you, Richard. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to begin by thanking the U.S. Commercial Service and, in particular, Cam Shaw for the invitation to participate. Certainly, opportunities like these webinars are so important for us as agencies to get out the information about what we do to small business owners and representatives like yourself. So you are aware of the great programs and resources that are out there that the U.S. government makes available. I am just going to give a very brief overview of our agency, the Overseas Private Investment Corporation, also known as OPIC. And I'm, of course, happy to take questions at the end of the presentation as time permits, or follow up individually by email with anyone who has questions. So OPIC, to begin, we are an independent agency of the U.S. government, despite the silly-sounding name. We have been around since 1971, so we are now celebrating our 40th year anniversary. And our mission, very simply, is to facilitate and support U.S. private investment into developing countries. So more specifically, what we do, we offer financial products to U.S. companies to help them enter international markets where private capital may be limited or unavailable. So there are two products that we offer to help small businesses address some of the key challenges they face when pursuing international business opportunities. One, for investors who are concerned about how to manage political risk, we offer political risk insurance, which you can think of as an insurance policy you would take out from the U.S. government that would protect any assets you place overseas against losses resulting from political events. So that might be equipment that you place overseas to perform under a contract. It could be an investment you make in property or land for your business, but it's an insurance policy that protects your assets abroad. And then secondly, for investors who have concerns about access to capital, we provide long-term financing in the form of both loans and loan guarantees to overseas business ventures with U.S. participation. And so in the subsequent slides, I'll walk through very briefly the parameters of each product. But first, to give you a little insight into how OPIC decides which types of investments to support, or as we call them, projects, how we prioritize our resources to support various projects abroad. When we look at a proposal from a U.S. company to support an investment abroad, we're asking them to be able to explain to us how they can achieve really 4 objectives. So first, we want to understand how we're going to help their U.S. business, be that help their business access new markets, generate more revenue, create more jobs for their personnel here in the U.S. But oftentimes, and this is where we link into the National Export Initiative, oftentimes our projects also result in the creation of substantial U.S. exports. So sometimes it's in obvious ways, like, say, a U.S. Exporter of frozen food products who wants to set up a cold storage facility abroad so that they can maintain an overseas inventory. That's an investment overseas that certainly leads to a direct increase in U.S. exports. But sometimes it also happens in less obvious ways. For example, a solar development firm that's putting together a solar project overseas and is importing into the foreign country U.S.-made solar panels. Or in another example, a firm that's building affordable housing in Africa and is bringing the housing kits from a U.S. supplier. So we certainly see our projects generating substantial U.S. exports. So in addition to knowing how the project will benefit the U.S. company that's involved in the project, we also want to understand how the project will help the host investment country, because we're also very keen on supporting projects that will provide a benefit to the host country, whether that be through introducing a new technology, supporting environmental best practices, providing support for lower income service areas, or perhaps supporting women in the workplace. So we focus our support on the lower and middle income countries, which presently number about 150 in Asia, Africa, Middle East, Latin America, and Eastern Europe. Third, we are looking for U.S. companies that are undertaking projects that support U.S. best practices. So we want to make sure that these companies that we're working with adhere to environmental requirements that would ensure proper protections are in place. We want to ensure that our projects and our sponsors adhere to internationally recognized worker rights. And perhaps very importantly, that the projects we support will not have any adverse impact on the U.S. economy or U.S. employment, meaning that we won't do any runaway plants or support any project that's in an industry that has seen a decline in the U.S. in recent years. And then finally, OPIC is a self-sustaining agency, which means that we do charge for our services to cover our costs. And so it's important to note that in order to access our risk insurance or our financing program, we do charge market-based fees. Perhaps an interesting note, given the current tough economic times we're in, not only does OPIC cover our costs, but we also generate enough income every year to return money to the U.S. Treasury, a little extra profit. So those funds then go and they pay for other programs of the U.S. government. So it's a neat little story. A few words on OPIC political risk insurance. as I said, it's an insurance policy that would protect any assets you have overseas against losses resulting from various political events. We typically organize these events into really three categories. First being political violence, which would cover losses to your property or your income caused by violence undertaken for political purposes. So that would include things like war, revolution, politically motivated civil strife or politically motivated rioting, as well as acts of terrorism. Second, we cover currency inconvertibility, which is basically conversion and transfer risk. So if you're earning money in local currency and you're looking to convert into U.S. dollars or transfer U.S. dollars back to the United States, this insurance policy would cover any losses you would incur because of an inavailability to convert or transfer. And then finally, we cover expropriation. So that would be the risk that the government could nationalize, confiscate, or expropriate your investment. And I made a note in this presentation that we also cover creeping expropriation, which would be gradual incremental expropriation, or in other words, step-by-step expropriation by the host country government. This policy is available to U.S. investors as individuals, U.S. contractors who are performing work overseas, U.S. exporters, as well as U.S. financial institutions and NGOs. So there's a variety of different types of organizations we work with in the U.S. to protect their assets abroad. We can protect a variety of different types of investment. So oftentimes the most common are actual property, buildings, equipment, but sometimes we can cover other types of investments that you may have at risk. Some of the more common ones would be a performance guarantee or an advance payment guarantee. We could cover certain contracts you may have with the foreign government. So if the government were to basically breach contract, we would provide some sort of support and compensation. We cover up to $250 million per project. We have no minimum policy size, so many of our small business clients have very small policies with us. But we can cover you for up to 20 years at a fixed premium. So you're insured a certain level of support through the OPIC insurance program for quite some time. So in summary, political risk insurance, it gives you peace of mind when you have assets at risk overseas. It's an important tool to help you raise capital because political risk insurance can help provide some comfort to potential financiers that are looking at your project. And then finally, we can tailor the coverage to cover different types of risks depending on what your concern is. So you may want a coverage just political violence, or you may want coverage on all three risks. A few words on OPIC Finance. We provide financing based on a total project cost. So if you're making an investment, you'll have costs to include land acquisition, construction, equipment purchase, working capital, and so on. We can provide support through either a direct loan or a loan guarantee. For U.S. small businesses, we have the authority to do a direct loan. So what that means is you do not need to go out and find a U.S. bank to lend you the money on which we would guarantee. You can apply to us directly. So that's certainly a time saver. We would be repaid through the ongoing project cash flow. So as you implement the project and you begin generating a revenue stream, we will be paid back over that time period. What we require in terms of a U.S. connection, the overseas business venture should have at least 25% ownership by a U.S. investor, be it a U.S. citizen, a U.S. permanent resident, or a U.S. company. We will finance anywhere from 50 to 75% of the project cost, which requires the sponsors to raise the remaining percentage in the form of equity. And sponsors and management must demonstrate that they have experience in the same or similar industry. We can, like our insurance policy, provide up to $250 million in support, but we can lend as small as $100,000. So that certainly enables us to support a variety of project sizes. Our tenors, like the insurance side of the house, are longer in nature. Our tenors are typically somewhere between 5 and 15 years in length to give the client ample time to begin generating cash flow. And so in summary, on the OPIC finance product, basically the product is meant to fill a niche in the capital markets of emerging countries. We're providing longer tenor loans at a fixed rate for the life of the loan. We do require significant U.S. involvement, more than simply an export or vendor relationship. We would look for an actual U.S. ownership component, at least 25%. And the sponsors must produce a viable business plan and financial model for the project. They need to demonstrate to OPIC that they have relevant experience and will be able to generate a sufficient cash flow to repay the loan. Finally, if you are looking to get some more information about OPIC, our website, opic.gov, is quite helpful. We have on the website a small business guide, which I certainly recommend you check out. It's a compilation of a variety of resources, some from OPIC, some from sister agencies like the Small Business Administration, that guide you as to how to put together a viable business proposal. If you would like to discuss the project, you're welcome to reach out to our office, and I provide the email and phone number for outreaching to OPIC. We have our online application forms accessible from the website, Form 50 for insurance, Form 115 for finance. And if you're looking for assistance in putting together a package for OPIC, the ednaccess.com website, you'll find a list of our loan originators, which are organizations that provide support to companies to help them package viable applications for OPIC and other lenders. The final slide is my contact information. As I said, I'm quite happy to speak with any of you that have an interest in either of our products or would like to learn more about what we can do to help your business. So with that, I will pass back to the moderator, and if we have time, I think all of us stand by happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Allison. Yes, now we will be taking voice questions. For those of you who would like to ask a voice question, please press *1 on your telephone. And we'll get the operator to help you out.
And ma'am, at this time I'm showing no questions. However, if there is anyone wishing to ask a question, please press *1 and record your name when prompted. One moment, please.
While we're waiting for a voice question, I do have a written question here from Scott Baranski. The question is, do you provide a one-page summary of all the DOC services offered to help companies move into the world of exporting? We would love to be able to hand these out to our customers and prospects on calls in our market.
Excellent suggestion. This is Cam Shah from Commerce. Please let us know your email address, and we'll be happy to prepare a one-pager, which definitely you could distribute. We appreciate your help in getting the word out, and these are all agencies working together, and our services, definitely excellent suggestion. We'll work towards that and get you that one-pager within the next couple of weeks or so.
And also there's been a lot of questions about copies of this presentation. You would like a copy of the slides. What we try to do is archive these on our website, www.export.gov. Under the Watch Archive Webinar section, it's very easy to find. It's in the middle of the page. It's a bullet link where you can look at all of our webinars in the Basic Guide to Exporting webinar series. So we plan on posting this once again on our website, www.export.gov, under the Watch Archive Webinar link.
And we do have one audio question at this point. That question comes from Betty. Your line is open.
Okay. My question is, any advice on how to protect intellectual property when we export some products with technologies or advanced research results to Chinese market? Because now our potential clients have interest to export things to China. However, the U.S. patent doesn't work in China.
No, excellent question. excellent question and a very timely question as well. You might be surprised to hear that 70% of patent infringement violations come from one country, and that is China, which is the fact. So it is good that you are definitely working towards that. Yes, there is of course, we can provide you a list of law firms who can help you, either it's patent, copyright, or trademark, whichever you are trying to register. We can definitely help you. I'll give you my email address, which is on the slide as well, but it's kam.shah, kam.shah, @trade.gov. Please send us your details, and then we'll be happy to provide you with a referral of law firms who can help you.
Great. Thank you so much.
And at this point, I'm showing no further questions.
Okay. I guess from the panel here, Richard, Allison, thank you for joining this afternoon, and feel free to reach out to us if you have further questions. But again, to all the participants, thank you for joining, thank you for attending, and thank you for exporting.
Happy exporting. Yes.
Happy exporting. Bye-bye.
This concludes today's conference. Thank you so much for joining. You may disconnect at this time.